How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Gym and a Great Day. So here we are. You may be wondering, well, where is this scenic view? We're in Malibu, California, and so this is my first time actually driving on these roads with the CA Corvette, and it's been so much fun so far. However, we're not here alone. We're actually hanging out with a really cool guy and one of my most favorite cars of all time, and many of you probably feel it the same exact way. And the owner of it, Ryan, you guys may have seen tons of videos online of his events that he puts on. He's actually co-owner of Shift Sector and the owner of this all-black 06 Ford GT. How you doing, man?
What's up, man?
Good to see you again.
How you doing?
I am blown away with this car. First time seeing your Ford GT, dude.
There's nothing like them.
There's nothing like it, right?
Nothing like them. I mean, I fell in love with the GT when they came out, and you know, I remember when they came out and everyone was like, who's gonna pay 150 grand for a Ford? And they couldn't sell them, and now look at them, you know.
Oh, the values have shot straight up, man. It's unbelievable. And what's crazy is that, like you're saying too, I think they had a hard time selling initially, right?
Yeah, I remember there was a time where they were discounting them off sticker for a while, and then I think once about a third of them have been crashed because you know, Ford creates a 550 horsepower mid-engine supercharged, you know, car with no traction control, no stability control, and then they had to put it on a Goodyear run flat for whatever purposes they needed it.
Really?
So you get all these guys, right, that who've maybe had other cars before that think they're fast cars, they get into one of these, and you know, mid-engine, the combination of all that, they lose control and they crash them. And so about a third of them have been crashed because of that.
That's so crazy. However, though, that's kind of the name of the game for this car, though. It's meant to commemorate the GT40, a raw race car. And looking at it, I mean, the design with this car is unbelievable. So did you buy it new or used? Used. So you searched the market for an all-black one?
Yeah, about 2 years ago.
So do you run this car at Shift Sector a lot?
So I haven't actually ran it yet. You know, usually when we're at the events, I'm working. So to hop in the car and race and then do it, you know, it's...
This isn't stock, right?
No.
So you've got ways to push the power.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of people say there's a handful of mods to do to this car, and that's how it should have come from the factory.
I gotcha. So how much horsepower are we talking about?
So right now with just basic bolt-ons, you know, pulley, exhaust, tune, this car probably puts around 600 to the wheels, 615 to the wheels on 91 pump gas. And the torque is up there too because it's, you know, a root style.
And then no traction control.
No traction control, stick shift.
The way you got to do, because the new Ford GTs, it's automatic only, right? Yeah. DCT. Yeah. Are these the stock tires that come with it?
So stock tires, no. It's funny, these Bridgestones were spec'd on the Enzo because of the sizing, and most guys take off the stock run flats and put these on it because they're a good street tire, but they also have good traction and can grip it a little better, and it really transforms the car.
How do the brakes feel?
The brakes are awesome.
Really?
I mean, you know, they're big brakes, and it's funny, you know, the GT was, because they had such little time to put it together for Ford's 100-year anniversary, it kind of became a hodgepodge of a lot of parts that they had lying around. You know, the motor was based on the 5.4 truck motor that then they threw a supercharger on. You know, so a lot of the things, I mean, including the key,
is it something
looks like it's from a Ford Focus. You know, you wouldn't know until you see Ford GT on the back side of it.
That is funny.
And the inside's the same. You know, you have a lot of cool dials, but then like the window and lock buttons look like they're out of a 2004, you know, Explorer.
Well, scratch that, because no other car in the street has doors like this, right? So where's the door handle with it? Is it
just underneath? And then you see it.
You ever have that issue getting in and out that everyone talks about with this car, or is it kind of blown out of proportions? It's not a big deal.
I think when you have the car, you get used to it, but I've definitely bumped my head a few times, and I'm so used to it that I forget to tell people
really
that you got to open the door pretty wide, you know. And there's other guys that they do like vertical door kits, but to me,
vertical door kit on an 06 Ford GT.
Yeah, because it makes sense from a practical standpoint. Because look, you can't park next to anybody without having to.
Well, it does open very far out, like wide.
So a lot of guys do kind of like a Lambo door kit.
I'd love to see that.
To go up because it's easier to get in and out, but. To me, like, when you see that, it's just wrong, you know? Like, the doors should open like they should. Yeah. That's like Le Mans, that's the GT40, that's the whole, you know, nostalgia of it. I just think when they came out, they were awesome. And then later, you know, I got to drive one, and then I rode and whippled ones and twin turbo ones, and I just said, there's just nothing like these cars. And then the values went crazy, and so my goal was to just always get one. They only made about 200 black no stripe cars.
Really?
And so usually, you know, you see the GTs with stripes because that's how people ordered them. you could actually only order the GTs with 4 options. And so stripes was one of those options. And, you know, so most guys, when they ordered the car, they wanted all 4 options, which was stripes, red calipers, upgraded stereo, and upgraded wheels. And this car, because it has no stripes and no upgraded wheels, it just has red calipers and the upgraded stereo, so it's considered a 2-option car.
For the newer Ford GTs, from what I'm told, majority of them went to actual prior Ford GT owners.
I know a lot of Ford GT owners that then didn't get picked for the new Ford GT. What? So then that made them pretty bitter, right? And so that's kind of been its own thing. But there's just nothing like these cars. The new GT is awesome. But it's just so different.
Well, this is a V8, you know? If you look at it, there's only 2 modern-ish American mid-engine V8 supercars that they've made, if you see it a supercar. Some guys, it's kind of like back and forth. But that's mid-engine V8 made by an American brand, one of the biggest ones. And then same goes for this one right here. I think if they put like the Voodoo in the new Ford GT, that would have been one of the craziest things ever.
Large Voodoo or a twin turbo Voodoo or some V8, I feel like, is what they should have done.
Yeah.
But I get it, the race car, the, you know, promoting the EcoBoost, I understand. But to me, this is the car. Here.
Is it pretty heavy?
Reach across and do one of these. It's not heavy at all.
Gymnastics,
you
right?
Gotta get the clips up.
Oh my gosh. I love how you can see like the entire top section of the back tires and wheels. This is one of the coolest engine bays I've ever seen. And surprisingly, it seems like the engine, you're sitting very close to the mid-mounted engine.
Yeah,
most cars...
It's honestly only, you know what, maybe 8 inches
in the C8, like you're sitting here and the engine is back, like pretty far back, like towards here.
Yeah.
And that's one of the interesting things, because with the C8, it's got one of the longest wheelbases for a mid-engine car.
Right.
But I just some of this car, man, it looks so awesome. Congratulations on it.
So obviously, Shift Sector, we host the half-mile racing events across the country. You know, that's kind of my side business. You know, my primary function is I'm a financial advisor, and I'm also an attorney. And so, you know, for me, I'm always on a day-to-day basis helping people invest their money, and rarely do you make money with cars, but I think a lot of people know that you buy the right car, you make the right move, and you know, you'll never lose a dime on it. And fortunately, I think this is one of those cars.
The new Ford GT is going to be interesting, I think, when more start being produced because they up production. Yep. I wonder how that's going to be from an investment standpoint. A lot of guys I know buying that car, they go, well, I'm not putting any miles on it because it's selling for $1 million, right? But since they're making 1,350 of them now, I wonder if we're going to start seeing...
I think so. I mean, honestly, because I've been watching the prices a little bit, and some of them have sold, at least, you know, at auction and things like that, for under $1 million. Okay. And a lot of these guys who paid, you know, 600, 700, 800 grand and thought they would double their money, and you know, now 100-mile cars are going for 900, 950. I don't know. And now if they're just going to keep making more of them, you know, like they'll never make another one of these.
Exactly.
So.
And the thought process is this too. Since there's a 2-year wait before you can sell it, what if a lot of the guys are just waiting, just primed to sell it, and then you're going to see a mass influx of them on the market? Yeah. I wonder what's going to happen then.
Yeah, and I think also that original hold period for the guys that had the first cars was crucial, because those first cars that came up for sale, I think a lot of those went for, you know, well over $1 million. Yeah. But as more and more come to market, right, now there's more inventory, and so the demand probably isn't as high to snatch up anyone that pops up. And I think that's going to hurt the values, you know. In
my opinion, you got to buy these cars, have fun with them, and that's what I like what you do about it. You know, you actually race this car, and then you've done modifications to it as well. And speaking of that, so you've increased the power. What else have you done with this car?
So it's got basic bolt-ons, you know, so basically full exhaust, pulley, tune. Aside from that, you know, it's pretty much just a couple little things like a transaxle cooler, just to keep it cooler because the engine bay gets really hot. Is it lowered too? Because it looks pretty dang low. It is lowered. So it's still on factory suspension, but they make an adapter for the stock suspension that drops it, an adjustable about 1 inch. So it just looks a little meaner. I mean, you can see, like, I took the windshield wipers off because it just looks a lot more streamlined. I was gonna say that. I was like,
So something looks off about this. No, the street car has no windshield wipers.
Yeah, they make these little tabs, you know, so it just looks clean. It's one of those things that I never thought about until another GT guy, the guys that were working on my car were like, do you want to take the wipers off? And it never crossed my mind. And I was like, well, they're like, well, do you drive the car in the rain? I'm like, no. Then they're like, take them off. You know, like it looks really clean.
It looks good. Like if you guys can see this, if you look closely, I mean, it looks perfect. It looks natural, actually. I wanted to say this, and I know that's gonna make you pretty mad probably, but I know I have you beat on a really important front, that being I have a frunk and a trunk, way more storage space than you have in your other American V8 mid-engine supercar.
Yeah, this, you know, you got barely any room for anything in the front. I mean, I'll show you. But,
is there any space at all?
I mean, oh my god, that's about it. You got your owner's manual because there's no glove box.
So where's your racing helmet? It's on the passenger seat.
Yeah, that's all you got. So this is a day trip car unless you got someone following you.
I have space for my golf clubs to go golfing, and then my camera bag, because you know, being a Corvette owner, going golfing is a very critical aspect of ownership.
Yeah, I get it. You know, you need that extra space for your New Balances and your jean shorts, you know, and all your Corvette hats for you guys to take to the car shows, you know.
You know what, Ryan? I gotta ask you though. Mind if I hop inside? I've never actually sat in no 6.4 GT before, and it looks so cool, dude.
Watch your head.
Watch my head. But interesting, when the door's all the way open, you have plenty of room to hop right in, it seems like. Wow. The design in here is so sick, dude. That's one thing. I'm noticing this pillar right here. Does that get in your way when you're driving, like through a canyon or a mountain road?
And when you'll see when we drive, but constantly you're looking on both sides of it because this big A-pillar, you're trying to look up a corner, you know, you're looking at a big block of interior.
It goes directly this way. And if you close the door, don't mind reaching this way, closing it up, yeah, you can see that. Look how wide this pillar is right here. It is crazy. So you gotta lean this way to see the side mirror. This whole interior is really, really nice in here. I mean, I love these like racing inspired switches up here. It's all like an aluminum metal finish. And this being, you know, based on an actual GT40 race car, there's no space for your lame cup holders and all that stuff. This is all about the fundamentals, that being when you're driving faster, it's having fun. You want your 6-speed manual transmission, your climate control is right for when it gets hot at a racetrack day or something like that. The entire reason of owning this car is for that thrill. It's really nice in here, man.
It's soundproof.
You can't hear me?
No.
Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of that, is there a tub with this car? Metal door sill finish.
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much kind of the centerpiece is almost one section, and then everything kind of comes behind that. But it's crazy how the body and structure and frame are all kind of tied together for increased rigidity and stability.
Well, do you know how much this car actually weighs?
They say around 3,300. Okay, I think so somewhere around there.
You beat my car because the C8 Corvette weighs about, I think, 3,600 pounds. How does the manual actually feel? Is it the clutch light?
Honestly, to me, it's pretty light. You know?
Well, it's heavier than the 350s for sure.
Well, the 350s doesn't even count. It's funny because I remember after driving the 350 and driving this, you know, I would get in this car and be like, oh no, is there something wrong with the clutch? But just because they're so different, your foot just gets used to one or the other, you know?
But I love the shift knob itself way better in this car than the Chevy, because it's like when I was touching it just now, it was ice cold. Is it always like this?
No, when it gets hot, it gets real hot.
Really?
It's metal, so when it bakes in the car, I literally keep a towel around.
So after a full day of racing at shift sector, you get inside this car and sometimes it'll burn your hand.
Well, yeah, it's more of like if the sun or it's hot out and there's a lot of heat in the cabin.
Oh, I got you.
Then it gets really hot, so I literally have to use like a shirt or a towel, because I'll burn my hand. Like you'll burn your hand, you can't drive anywhere. It's pretty funny. That's
so funny. These seats. They're more comfortable than I thought they would be. They're not that, like, you do feel like that's plastic, right? Yeah. On the center, you do feel it.
Yeah, so they're carbon back, but they're totally adjustable, and they have these, you know, plastic rings in them. And to me, honestly, it's actually a lot more comfortable than you think it would be. Yeah, I think it's way more comfortable than, you know, a race seat or anything. You know, even the Porsche buckets, you know, the carbon buckets are great on track, but you don't want to be driving on the street very long.
And what is the function of these again?
I don't think there is really a function. You know?
So heritage just looks...
Exactly, yeah.
You know, and the door sill is not that super wide door sill. I just hit my head. I did it. I did what you said.
Oh, well, everyone hits their head on the...
I did the opposite.
But you just learn to park with no one next to you so you can open the door all the way and then you don't bump your head.
Well, I have to ask you, man. I'm on to go out for a drive with this thing. I've always wanted to be inside this car.
That's what it's for. I'm not one of those guys that parks it in the garage for, 6 years. This thing's meant to be driven. And before we head out though, what one thing people love about the car,
oh my god,
is the plate.
Well, I said that. Oh my gosh, OMG GT or OMGT.
Yeah.
And so you spec this out yourself, this license plate?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it was available. When I was trying to find a plate for the car, I'm like, what would be good? And actually, a friend of mine had OMGT2 on his 911 GT2, yeah. And so I was like, oh, I wonder if I can find OMGT or OMGT40 or something. And it was available, and everyone just thinks it's hilarious because they're like, oh my god, and they're like, oh wait, that's also the license plate. Yeah. So it's funny.
That's awesome, man. Alrighty. First time riding in a Ford GT, dude. Nice. I'm excited about this. I know this is your baby, so.
Yeah, let's go.
What I'm noticing is that it's much louder on the outside than it is on the inside.
Well, no, it's not bad at all on the inside because it's mid-engine, right? So everything is behind you. I'm sure your car is probably the same way.
Oh, I love seeing the engine shake and vibrate right behind us. That is so awesome.
I assume it'll probably feel similar. You had the Super Snake, right?
Yep, the Super Snake.
You had a lot of power with that, but I feel like the manual and how the power comes on and the blower setup, I feel like it'll probably feel like similar to that, just in a different chassis, So
how much horsepower again?
Probably around 615 to the wheels, so I call it 700 crank.
Okay, okay, 700 crank. So you're gonna go down straight, or which way?
Yeah, we'll just go down straight.
Sounds good. It does give me Super Snake vibes. You've nailed it on that one. You got a classic Porsche. I love the styling.
But you can see like with the A-pillars and stuff, Yeah, and it's crazy because stock, the stock muffler is like 60 pounds. It's a huge muffler and it's super quiet. Like stock, you get it and you see this amazing car and this aggressive car, and then people are like, rev it, and you really can't hear it that well. And so once you open up the exhaust,
you can hear it. Yeah, you can hear it. It's not too stiff. It feels nice.
Well, that's also why I didn't want to mess with the suspension too much because the stock suspension is actually really nice.
You can feel the 345s out back working magic. Oh, wow. It just feels like it's at home doing this. I love how your speedo is way over here to the right.
And you can see, second gear goes to 100. So for the motor, or just about, 90 to 100.
So what kind of gears does it have?
I don't know what the stock gears are actually.
Like low threes?
Probably, yeah. But fifth and sixth are really long. Like fifth goes over 200 and sixth they never actually published because they didn't know. Okay. So I think stock gearing though can go to 220 something if you have the power to get there,
The part that really surprised me with this car is that it is so raw, but at the same. Oh my gosh! No worries, but it felt composed there.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. People are like, "Oh, you drive this car kind of fast in the canyons," and I'm like,
"It doesn't feel fast."
It doesn't feel fast.
Well, it does feel fast, but I think in the sense of.
But no, it's not and the brakes are good. So you come into, if you think you're coming to something a little hot, you just get on the brakes,
Wow. 6-piston, right?
Yeah.
This car gives you a strange mid-engine vibe in the sense of you're sitting very far back and the front tires and wheels are much further forward than they are when you sit in a Huracan or a McLaren, right? It's like a muscle car-ish mid-engine.
Yeah, I also feel in this, you actually looking, you see a lot of the road. You have a lot of visibility versus the the Huracans, I feel you sit kind of back and the windshield is kind of far and you can't really see what's below you.
think too, as long as you drive this car like a mid-engine car, it's hooked.
I mean, like I said, like I always try to be a little on throttle. It's either on brake or on throttle. Like anything in between, it just, you know, you don't want to upset the car, you know? So it's like, you know, I feel like that's when things happen, is when the car gets light, you hit a bump like that, you know, and you have a little angle and no squat and no, you know, load on the mid-engine and the rear end, and that's when bad stuff happens.
Yeah,
you know?
I gotta be honest with you. I kind of want to get one. I'm being honest with you. I kind of want one, being a Ford guy.
I'm surprised you've never been in one, because it's like,
I like it. Though, I think they achieved what they're aiming for. This car, it's modern, but it gives you a retro 1960s vibe racer. That's like the way the whole display is. These amazing dials,
the dasher, the gauges and stuff. It's like, it's
the way the pedals look.
It's awesome.
Hey Ryan, can I ask you to do some revs for me, man? I got to hear this thing from the outside.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that actually does hurt my ears. That actually, I'm not kidding about that. That did kind of hurt my ears.
I mean, it's not quite, but it could probably be loud.
Dude, thank you so much for that ride. I really appreciate it, man. First time riding in 06 Ford GT, and the thing is, it is unreal. It gives me Super Snake vibes of the car I used to have. It sounds so loud, so American, and the way it feels, it's like no other mid-engine car out there. It's not. So I think this thing definitely should be a keeper for you, at least for the time being.
Now, this has always been the dream. So this is, I'm never gonna sell this unless I absolutely need to for some reason. But this is the child. So,
well, you know what, guys, if you want to follow all of Ryan's adventures with the Ford GT, make sure to hit up his Instagram. That is Fishy Pants.
Yep.
Very interesting Instagram username. What's the backstory behind that one?
Well, listen, my last name's Fisher, and it's just stuck. So,
anyways, though, dude, thanks again. I really appreciate you making me wish my C8 Corvette over there was louder, and I may have to do something about that. Anyways, though, guys, hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to give it a like. Really help us out. Also, subscribe for much more great supercar content coming your way. I'll see all of you in the next episode.